How to feed your axolotl and how to keep their worms alive. Welcome to Axolotl 101, I'm Beck. Most adult axolotls should be by default able to eat even the largest Canadian nightcrawlers whole. However, there are many reasons that could cause an axolotl to either A, never learn how to, or B, just one day stop being able to eat full worms. So you should definitely be comfortable with cutting axolotl worms, even if you get an axolotl who doesn't need them cut at first, because there's nothing saying that one day in age they won't need it. I'll be making a video talking about axolotl pickiness and how to get their appetites back shortly, so stay tuned for that, but for now we're just going to talk about the basics of feeding axolotls. With that being said, the first thing you're going to need are some live worms. I prefer buying them in these cups of 12, but you can get them in larger pallets online. I just like keeping them in smaller batches though, in case you do end up losing one worm or one ends up moldy. You really should just toss the whole thing. Should last you a month or two in the fridge. Just sprinkle some water on them if you notice the soil is getting dry. Depending on how many mouths you have to feed, it might be more advisable to start your own worm farm. Now when you get into them, this is what they're going to look like. You're going to need to pick out what you want and rinse them off under the tap. I suggest rinsing them in as hot of water as your fingers can deal with. This will stun the worms and hopefully save them from any pain when you chop them, if you need to chop them. It will also make them easier for the axolotl to get down, as they won't fight while being swallowed. I also suggest giving them a little wring out towards their end to get rid of any fecal matter in the end of their digestive tract, because when you feed them, there's a good chance that this will come out into your aquarium, so you might as well just get it out while you're washing them. Just a little tip for those of you who have to cut your worms. I suggest using these scissors that can come apart for easy cleaning. And I also suggest labeling them so they don't end up in your utensil drawer. I'll show you the process of cleaning them. A little graphic warning ahead of time. If you don't like seeing worms cut, why are you here? So you're going to start with a dirty worm like this. And you're going to stun it so it doesn't move anymore. Okay, and then you're going to have a long stretched out worm that doesn't move. Next, you're going to go from about halfway down and kind of gently squeeze. Well, yeah. Next, you're going to stretch it out depending on the length that you want for your axolotls. If you're just starting to feed one worms, I would suggest inch-long pieces. For most others, cutting these large ones in half will be enough. Then I give it a quick little rinse off again. So there's lots of different ways to feed axolotls because they have lots of different preferences, so you're going to have to figure out the preference of your axolotl. For example, most will prefer to be fed from above, just above their head. Some will prefer to have it from under their chin. Others, if they're pellet trained, will prefer to have pieces dropped on their head where they can catch them. If you're having trouble hand feeding, this might be what they're expecting. Some will prefer specific parts of the worm. So if you cut it in half, some will prefer the butt half rather than the head half. If you have an axolotl like this, you can trick them into eating the head half by feeding the skinnier side first. My boy Amok here is a perfect example of that, so I'll show you. If I were to feed him this worm the opposite way with the head first, he would spit it out every single time. Some axolotls don't like being fed in high light, so try to keep the lights dim for them. Some axolotls will nose to the floor, sniff out their food like a dog. Others will not find it if they miss it, so if you don't have the time to watch your axolotl eating, be sure that you're checking back to make sure that they did get their worm, because if that worm fouls in the water, it will mess up your perimeters very fast, and the smell can turn off axolotls from worms for a very long time. So just a couple tips to add. You can use tongs to feed the axolotls their worms. Just be careful, you don't want them to accidentally scratch their mouth on them, same if you've got long nails. Also, try to stay mindful of what you have on your hands before you put them in the tank. Even if you've just got moisturizers on, if you're using scented soap, just keep that in mind. You don't want to be getting that stuff in your aquarium. So another tip for you is, is I like to keep these little bath mats underneath my tank to set my stuff on while I'm working, or any time that I have to do a spot clean or anything that could catch the drips for me. So, Spinelli, this is what I mean that adults should be able to handle worms like this. Actually, she could handle it twice this size. And she will sit there and work at getting it down her throat. Now grab another full one for Lizzie McGlottle here. And some people ask if axolotl bites hurt. It feels like as if a frog were to bite you. If they grab the loose part of your skin where my freckle is here, that can hurt a little bit and leave a bit of a hickey mark, but otherwise, no, they don't hurt. They do that little ripping thing though, like a dog does with a rope. Okay, feed the smaller guys. There you go. Some axolotls will swim up to you for their worm, like Spinelli was about to do. This is Jack. Jack's an albino. Axolotls already have bad vision, but albinos have exceptionally bad vision. This guy is odd. He will swim up to you for it, wanting it, without really being able to see it. So I'll see if I can catch that. He kind of fumbles around to get it. I believe he uses his smell. Yeah. He smells more than anything. But there you go, Jack. Most adult axolotls will be happy to be fed every other day. However, females do tend to get a little bit more chonky than males, so you want to aim to have their stomach the same width as their head. If they are bigger than that, you might want to cut back a day. If they're smaller than that, you can feed every day. There's how you feed your axolotl. If you've been struggling with anything on this topic, just leave some questions in the comments and I will answer them for you. Otherwise, I hope you all have an amazing Canada Day, and I will see you in the next Axolotl 101.